Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama, Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Govindeva ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapurana Saptah ki Jai. So today is the fourth day. We're doing this 7 days Bhagavatam Saptah in very auspicious time. The Pitru Paksh is going on right now. So it's very important to listen to Bhagavatam during this time and offering to our forefathers and ancestors. Any would like to sponsor prasadam, garlands, any day, please contact me. Hare Krishna.
Naved Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Go Premanandi. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Guru and Gauranga. करता हूँ सर
जय श्री श्री राधा गोविंद देव की।
Yeah.
I'll stay the whole time this time.
Let's begin with favorite bhajan of Srila Prabhupada. Jai Radha Madhav Kunjbihari. Jai Radha Madhav Kunjbihari. Jai Radha Madhav Kunjbihari. Gopijan Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopijan Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jashodanandan Vrajijan Ranjan. Jashodanandan Vrajijan Ranjan. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunjbihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Now, the curtains are actually closed, but we have the deity of Krishna with flute. So people see the flute, but never hear the flute. So here we have a very talented devotee. He can actually let you hear the vibrations for that flute. So now the another talent is also here. Please welcome Mataji. And you play please something. Anything you feel like to inaugurate the event, because today is the 4th day. I never thought I will be able to do 7 days, but at least 3 days passed. Today is the 4th day. So we will take care of that. All right, Prabhu. Any raga or anything you feel like, because it's coming from behind the curtain. Krishna himself is playing. Yesterday we were looking in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is say that the speaker thinks that he's speaking, but he's not speaking. Krishna himself is speaking through the devotee, through the representative. So you are not playing flute, he's playing flute. He's playing through you. So play some things that we can start now. Beautiful, beautiful. Yesterday we came across a very beautiful verse, and we will continue how that particular verse has been used all over in Srimad Bhagavatam. Today is a special day. Just like a real estate agent takes you through the house and shows that this is the living room, and he says, wow, this is gorgeous. This is the dining room. This is our kitchen. This is the bedroom. This is the bathroom. And you go through every room. So last night, that's what I did. I thought only we have 7 days to wrap up Srimad Bhagavatam. Whether I will be able to do it, I am not so sure, because every time you read something, it's increasing instead of just taking care of. So the thing is that today I want to take you through this whole Bhagavatam, which I did last night, and put the whole Bhagavatam in a concise form. So you will really enjoy that. What did we do last night? So this was the verse we left with. Kasme ye na vibhasito yamatulo Gnana pradeepa pura tadrupena shinardaya munaya Krishnaya tadrupena Yogendraya tadatmanatha bhagavat Rataya karunyatas Tachundam vimalam vishokamrutam Satyam param dhimahi. The whole disciplic succession is mentioned here. That the main preacher, main speaker is Krishna. But who is listening to him? Say, Lord Brahma. And then Lord Brahma gives it to Narada. And Narada is passing on to Yogendraya Tadatmanatha, his son Shukadevji. And then Bhagavat Rathaya Karunyatasa. Vishnurat is the name of Parikshit Raja. And then it is passed on to different branches of religion, sampradaya. And ultimately, so far as our sampradaya is concerned, ISKCON is concerned, it came all the way up to Srila Prabhupada. So, it's very important for us and for anybody who wants to be a good preacher or a good devotee must remember the Guru Parampara. And that is why Prahlad Maharaj, when he looks at, you can see that picture right there. Prahlad Maharaj is looking at Narasimha Deva. But when he looks around, he is surrounded by the whole universe. Every living entity is present there. I mean, celestial personalities, worshipable demigods and sages and saintly people, everybody were there. So, Prahlad Maharaj thought, I am so junior, I am a little child. What am I going to speak? How am I going to pray to Lord Narasimha Deva? So he says, let me get the strength from all these people. Let me including myself, and that way my job will be very, very simple. Because now I am establishing myself with the devotee world. Now I am thinking of the Guru Parampara, and Krishna will come and speak through me to Narasimha Deva. So he says, Shri Prahlada Uvacha Soham Priyasya Surada Paradevataya Leela Kathastavanusi Vanchigita Anjasti Tarman Gunagun Vipramukto Durgani Te Padyugalayan Sasanga. Prahlad Maharaj said, O my Lord Narasimha Deva, by engaging in your transcendent loving service, in the association of devotees, what's the transcendent service he is doing? He himself is preaching Shravan, Kirtan, Smarana, Vandan, Pad, Sevan, Dasya, Pujana, Sakijana, Atmanivedana. Even if you just pay obeisances, that is a kind of service also. If you just happen to listen, Namaste Narasimha prayer, that is also a service to Lord Narasimha Deva. So he says that, my dear Lord, by engaging in your transcendent loving service in the association of devotees, right, he has the whole universe with him, who are liberated souls. He is looking with a very high vision. He is respecting them as liberated, exalted devotees, because they are all seniors, right? And I shall become completely uncontaminated by the association of the three modes of material nature. What it does, when you are surrounded by the devotees, then what it does, that it takes away the mode of goodness, passion, ignorance, all together. And you become gunatita. You go beyond mode of material natures. So he says, in your association of the three modes of material nature, and be able to chant the glories of your Lordship. And now, since all the modes are gone from my body, then I will be able to chant your glories. And there is Vaishnavas who are so dear to me. I shall chant your glories, following exactly in the footsteps of Lord Brahma. He looks at Lord Brahma, is right there, right? And his disciplic succession, he sees the Narad Muni also, he sees Shukdev Goswami also, right? So he says, in this way, I shall undoubtedly be able to cross the ocean of nations. The whole idea behind reading this Srimad Bhagavatam is crossing the ocean of nations. That's the object, right? Object of life is crossing the ocean of nations from one shore to other shore. This is a very, very interesting story. One of the friends, bosom friends of Prabhupada, We use the word kicking around, like that kind of, that, he can make a joke with him, he can laugh at him, and still Prabhupada wouldn't mind because they are so busy, so close, like brothers. So he enters this Radha Damodar temple where Prabhupada was translating Srimad Bhagavatam. Exactly this particular verse, right? And when he was translating, he had a Parker pen in his hand. Parker pen. I'm talking about 65 years ago. In India, Parker pen was very expensive pen. Very few people use that. So, the friend wants to joke about it, right? All of a sudden I have a golden crown like Krsna, then everybody say, oh, you look like Krsna now, they will make a joke out of it. So this friend also, he says, oh, Prabhupada, you have Parker pen in your hand. And just listen this story. He has such a great sense of humor. Plus, he was such a pure devotee that he didn't mind his comment. And he showed him this pen and he says, yes, Parker is the English word, but in Sanskrit, Par is crossing the ocean of nations. Par means go from one, and Kar means with which instruments you go. You need a boat, you may swim, right? Somebody take you on your back, whatever it is. But once you go from one end to the other end, one shore to other end, that is a Parker. So he says, yes, you are right. What I am writing is also Parker. This Srimad Bhagavatam, whoever reads what I am reading or writing, if someone reads, will go across the ocean of nations. And the instrument that I am using, this Parker pen, is also known as Parker because it has ability to write something, to create something which can take a human being from one shore to the other. Can you imagine this kind of joke? Right? Right away we will come up with some mundane answers. Yeah, somebody gave me 60 rupees, so I bought this. Oh, I found this on the sidewalk. Oh, this is expensive, but I had to borrow this. No. He just, from word Parker, right away he thought of crossing the ocean of nations. That was his focus. He knew the intention, the purpose behind human life, and he wanted to preach. That person also who was joking, that's why he said this. So I'm just passing on this particular story. And that is why here also Prahlad Maharaj, he's considering the disciplic succession, and he says, following exactly in the footsteps of Lord Brahma, and in disciplic succession, in this way I shall undoubtedly be able to cross the ocean of nations. So I have to thank all of you to joining this particular katha. And then, now, this is one part, like I said, I'm taking you through the house. This is my living room, and this is the kitchen, and this. So the first pass was a sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha means association of devotees. Sang, and there is another word in Sanskrit, rang. Rang means color. If I put my hand in a black color, what will be the color of my hand? Black. If I put it in the red, it is going to be red, right? So it says, yatha sangha tatha ranga. Whatever the association you have, you become like that, right? So beautiful, such a small injunction, but that's what Bhagavatam is saying. And this first part I visited was this Prahlad Maharaj verse. Now we go to pray for the association of devotees. You cannot just sit around in your living room and think that, oh, I will have devotees in my place, No, you have to pray to Krsna that he may provide you right kind of association. So here, Kapil Muni advises his own mother Devhuti the importance of association and how to pray. And through which verse is I'm telling you. So here it says, Tayete sadhava sadvi sarvasanga vivarjita Sangate shvatate partya Sangadosha harahite Taete sadhava sadvi Sarvasanga vivarjita Sangate shvatate partya Sangradosha harahite. Kapil Muni says, O my mother, O virtuous lady, these are the qualities of the great devotees who are free from all attachments. You must seek attachment to such holy men, for this counteracts the pernicious effects of material attachment. Pernicious means contagious. When you are in a material world, nature works. For example, if there is rain outside and if you just go without umbrella, what happens? You get wet. If it's extremely hot, your body temperature will go along with the temperature of the sun. And if it's extreme cold, you say, wait, let me get my jacket, right? So similarly, when you are in this material world, the nature of the material world is that it's going to exploit you. It will change you. And you have to change accordingly. And that's why Kapil Muni says that the first thing, the devotee has no attachments whatsoever. There is no any attachments, So, if this kind of person, if you can find, create attachment or have relationship with him, which will counteract the contagious disease that you go through the material attachment. So that is the only way to get rid of Sangha dosha. Dosha and Sangha. Sangha I already explained you, Yatha Sangha Tatha Ranga. So association is a Sangha. And a dosha is, out of dosha, you get some habits. A person is good, then there are so many devotees I know, that they don't want to go to temple or anywhere. But his friend says, please come, let's have some, it's a Sunday night, they are going to have feast, just have a little prasad and, So they come one day, then they come another day and a third day, and finally I see them, 6 months they are all shaved head. Why? Because they are in association of a devotee. But if they go somewhere else, then they start drinking, smoking, they are on drugs, and 6 months they are finished, So this is very important that I pray for the association of the devotees. Now, devotees never find faults with others. They don't have any attachment, that is one thing. But devotees never find faults with others, but actually they glorify the devotees. So here there is a beautiful verse between Mother Parvati and his own father Daksha. So Daksha is insulting Lord Shiva. But Lord Shiva is perfect devotee. He doesn't mind. But his wife Parvati minds it. So she says this particular verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. Doshan paresham hi guneshu sadhavo gruyyanti kechin bhavadrashvadvija gunacha palgun bahuli karishnavo mahattamastev avidya bhavanjam. Parvati says, O twice born Daksha. He was a Brahmin initiated, was not ordinary person, Kashyapa. But still, a man like you can simply find fault in qualities of others. You are a Brahmin. And how can you say the words like this for Lord Shiva? A man like you can simply find fault in the qualities of others. Lord Shiva, however, not only finds no faults with others' qualities, he doesn't find any faults in others' qualities. But if someone has a little good quality, he magnifies it greatly. If there is a small thing somebody is doing, Lord Shiva is really pleased and says, thank you, thank you. He bow down, become humble right in front of an insignificant devotee also. He appreciates. Unfortunately, you have found fault with such a great soul. It's not easy to be a soul like that who never sees any kind of fault in others. He is a great soul, but you have insulted him by finding faults in him. So all these things will teach us something. Now, follow the Mahajanas. Here it says, this is Yamaraja, Dharmaraja himself is telling the messenger that Swayambhu Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapilo Manu Prahalado Janako Bhishma Balirvaya Sakirvayam. So this is Yamaraja himself. And he says, Lord Brahma, you have to remember because there are 12 names. Lord Brahma, Narada, Lord Shiva, the 4 Kumaras, Lord Kapila, Swayambhu Manu, Prahlad Maharaj, Janak Maharaj, grandfather Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, Shukadev Goswami, and I, that is Yamaraja himself, know the religious principles. They know all the religious principles, all these 12 people, and especially what to speak of what you call Yamaraja. He has to know. It's like New York City is publishing building codes that every stair must be built with the unit of 11 inches, the corridor must be that wide, the window must be that, all that rules and regulations are printed. And people who design the building will have to remember that. Similarly, even the Yamaraja will have to actually remember the rules and regulations. So when this Dharmaraja, Yamaraja, in coming in front of Parikshit Raja, because Kali is cutting 3 of his legs. He comes in the form of a bull, and Kali comes and cuts 3 of his legs. And that time, Dharmaraja was asked a question. He says, who has cut off your 3 legs? Parikshit Raja is asking. And Dharmaraja is replying, Navayam klesha bijani yatasyu purusharshava purusham to vijanimo vakya veda vimohita. So being a devotee, Dharmaraja knew that without the sanction of Supreme Lord, no one could inflict suffering upon anyone. Although Dharma knew very well that Kali was the direct cause of his suffering, he considered him to be merely instrumental, because all kinds of suffering are in actuality caused by fructification of the past sinful acts. Being thus unwilling to directly accuse Kali, Dharma continued to saying, some philosophers declare one's own self to be the cause of suffering, while others say that it is a superhuman power that is responsible. Still others claim that one's acts are the cause, and gross materialistics explain that all suffering is ultimately caused by nature. Therefore, O king, you must judge for yourself with the help of your good intelligence and thus ascertain the real culprit. So the answer he comes up with that, well, who cut my legs? My karma. I must have done something wrong. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in this condition. So that was the first answer. He doesn't give straight answer. He puts 10 answers in front of Parikshit Raja, and then he says, you choose according to your intelligence. You judge who did this. Number one was my karma. Then what happens? When it fructifies, when you do something, then the prarabdha karma, it comes back. What goes comes around, right? If you kill somebody, somebody is going to kill you. Don't think that, you're off the hook. Not in this life, maybe in the next life somebody will kill you, but you will be killed. So the thing is that when it fructifies, at that time, there is an instrumental personality. The person may not even have anything to do with you personally, but still he will act, and based on his action, you will suffer. So he says, my karmas arise, and that time somebody became instrument, and this person who was inspired to make me suffer, he acted on his own, but he was just instrument. I say there is nothing wrong with him. He didn't have anything to do against me. He was just inspired by the fate, right? Now, nature of material world, we just explained, if you go out in the rain, that will happen. So we are in material, so we will be going through three kinds of miseries: Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik, and Adi Devik. Adhyatmik, me. When you point a finger at you, that is Adhyatmik. It was my mistake, I'm so sorry, right? We say that sometimes. When you accept, when you confess, it was my mistake. But when you say, I didn't do that, he did it. When you point the finger at somebody else, that is Adi Bhautik. And then neither this, neither that, but you go up there and say, that is Adi Devik. Only God knows, right? You just raise your hands and give up to answer. So, all these things, unless it is sanctioned by Krishna, then it can happen. Otherwise, it can never ever happen. So, he says, Dharmaraja told Parikshit that now you judge what exactly happened. So, here in this case also, it says that I myself know the real religious principles. So, these are the 12 personalities who are fully equipped with that religious knowledge. It's a story later on we will come across when Yudhishthir Maharaj is renouncing the world and is walking, and suddenly he comes at the gate of the heaven. So he had a little dog, and dog followed him because he loved that dog and dog loved him. So the gatekeepers at the heaven told him that please come in, but don't bring the dog. So Yudhishthira Raja knew the principles of religion. He himself was a Dharmaraja. So he says, why not? So he says, no, because it's a dog. So this whole movement in America and all the world about the animals and this and that going on, that activist people should know that this was here since 5,000 years in India. People had sense that animals are not animals. They are also living beings, and we have to respect them, and they have the equal rights to live. This sense was there, and Yudhishthira told gatekeeper that I don't want to come in this kind of place. I don't care about heaven. I don't want any kind of enjoyments or this or that. I don't know what kind of destiny I have, but I am returning this gate and I am taking my dog wherever I go. This is a story in Bhagavatam. So, here this verse is a beautiful verse. And then it says, learn from a bona fide spiritual masters. So, here the verse is, Tasmad gurum prapadyeta jignasu shreya uttamam shabde pare cha nishnatam brahmanyu pashmashraya tasmad gurum prapadyeta jignasu shreya uttamam shabde pare cha nishnatam brahmanyu pashimashrayam. So here it says in Bhagavatam, therefore any person who seriously desires real happiness must seek a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. The qualification of the bona fide guru is that he has realized the conscience, conclusions of the scriptures by deliberations and is able to convince others of these conclusions. Such great personalities who have taken shelter of the Supreme Godhead, leaving aside all material considerations, should be considered to be bona fide spiritual master. So this is the verse, this is spoken by Krishna himself. He gives the definition of guru. We should repeat it, I think, because it's very important. Some may be looking for guru, some may already have a guru. Some may be thinking to take another initiation from the same guru. Some may be thinking of leaving him aside, whatever situation may be. But this is the verse will tell you the qualifications of a guru. And that's why I said, therefore, any person who seriously desires real happiness must seek a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. The qualification of bona fide guru is that he has realized the conclusion of the scriptures by deliberations and is able to convince others of these conclusions. Such great personalities who have taken shelter of the Supreme Godhead, leaving aside all material consideration, should be understood to be the bona fide spiritual master. Now, we come to the inner attitudes and fearable practices absorbed in Krishna's pastimes and activities. So, here it says, Madashraya kathamrusta shruvanti kathayanti cha vipanti vividastapa naitan madgata chetasa madashraya kathamrusta shruvanti kathayanti cha taptanti vivithastapa naitan madgata chetasa. It says, engage constantly in chanting and hearing about me, Lord Krishna says. These are some of the final words of Lord Krishna before he left this material world. Of course, Bhagavad Gita is there, so many other teachings are there. But in reality, these are the final words, and that's why it's important to remember. Engage constantly in chanting and hearing about me. the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The sadhus do not suffer from material miseries because they are always filled with thoughts of my pastimes and activities. It's like having a very good, nice dream, right? Do you suffer in your dream? No, because it's a good dream. That's the dream you would like to see that. So whole night is passing and in the morning you are fresh. This morning I woke up and I heard one of my friends, after a long time, I thought of him, and he was singing a beautiful song. Whatever bhajan or whatever he was singing. I could exactly, it's just like he was sitting in front of me, so close, clearly I was able to hear the words of that particular bhajan that he was singing. So I sent him the text message that thanks, you made my day. I said, it must be an auspicious day for me because, you hear some devotee singing, right? But this is what it is, that when you are dedicated to Krishna, surrendered to Krishna, then your mind, your heart, your thoughts are filled with pastimes and activities of Krishna. You don't think anything else. So even if you hit a wall, right, you just don't start crying, oh my God, you don't do that. You just take life as it is. You say, shake it off. I have to go and do my service, right? I have to play mridanga. It may hurt a little bit more, but the thing is that you say, well, that's life. What can I do? I should be careful. Next time I'll be careful when I walk like that. But you learn lesson. But the thing that because of this, Krishna says that when your mind is attached to me, all those sufferings that we are talking about will not even touch you, right? Now we go to discuss Krishna Katha. And here it says, Yatra Bhagavata Rajan Sadhavo Vishidashaya Bhagavad Gunanukathan Shravana Vyagra Chitasa Tasmin Mahan Mukharita Madhurika Charitra Piyush Shesh Sarita Parita Shravanti Tae Pibanti Savitro Nrupagadan Tanna Santi Anasumrudabai Kamoha. It says, my dear king, this is a talk between Narad Muni and King Prachin Barhi. King Prachin Barhi and Narad Muni, they are discussing. And Narad Muni says, my dear king, in the place where pure devotees live, following the rules and regulations, and thus purely conscious and engaged with great eagerness in hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in that place, if one gets a chance to hear their constant flow of nectar, which is exactly like the waves of river, one will forget the necessities of life, namely hunger and thirst, and become immune to all kinds of fear, lamentations, and illusion. So it is the Krishna Katha which can take you to that. Just like verse before had the same meaning, that when you are dedicated to Krishna and think of Krishna all the time and never forget him, then no matter what comes across, you are able to tolerate, you are able to take care of that situation. So here is the same thing Narad Muni is telling him. Otherwise, Narad Muni this particular purport explains that the person who is not attached to Krishna, what happens with him? That he is carrying a big load on his head. After a few feet, he gets very tired because there's a lot of load on his head. So what he does, he is using intelligence. He takes that load. Here Narad Muni gives example. And he puts it on a left shoulder. He feels good. Now that load is gone from here. But then 10 feet he walks and he says, oh my God, my shoulder. So he takes it on the right shoulder now and he says, wow, the pain is gone. Similarly, he keeps switching his load, but he's never out of this situation. But it gives the same load to Krishna, he doesn't even feel, right? 24 hours a day, so much services around temple, and that's what he described. It didn't say Radha Govinda temple, but Narad Muni says, my dear king, in the place where pure devotees live, following the rules and regulations, and thus purely conscious and engaged with great eagerness, hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in that place, if one gets a chance to hear that constant flow of nectar, which is exactly like the waves of river, one will forget the necessities of life. You don't have to feel thirsty or hungry. Sometimes on Ekadashi, we do this Gita reading and all that, So people enjoy that. They don't get hungry, right? Normally, otherwise, if it's 12 o'clock, oh, let's go and have a lunch, right? If it's 9 o'clock, oh, let's have a breakfast. Or 4 o'clock, oh, maybe offering must be out, let's go down, right? Or when you come back from Sankirtan, you want to eat. But no, you don't feel like, because that's insignificant now when it comes to Krishna Katha. That was a very beautiful story about a Chinese king. And Chinese king had a dream, and in the dream he saw that he had 10 sons, and those were all warriors. And suddenly there was war. So the king said, my sons, please go and fight. So sons went, but then the messenger came and, I'm sorry to announce, but all your sons, all the 10 sons died in a battlefield. Chinese king is sleeping, this is just a dream. Suddenly there is a knock on the door and he was woke up. And the messenger came and said, I'm so sorry. It's the middle of the night, I know you are sleeping, resting, but your only son, he died. Your only son, this is the reality. While he was dreaming, the 10 sons died in dream. At the same time, only one son that he had, he died. So king looks at the messenger and says, what do you want to do? What do you want me to say? I'm not even out of this death of my 10 sons, which I had in my dream. Now you're talking about one more son. What's the difference? Right? So that's what it is. This whole material life is like a dreaming stage. Sometimes you have one son or you have 10 sons. But someday, jatasya hi dhruva mrityu, people have to die one day. So why? Why we are lamenting about it? That is the message of Bhagavad Gita. So now, again, be satisfied with whatever one achieves. Now as I read, I write down the message about the verse, but after hearing, you can come up with your own decision or message. Whatever you learn, you write down yourself. But here it says, Yasya yaddeva vihitam satena sukadukhayo atmanam toshayan dehi tamasapara mruchati. Yasya deva vihitam satena sukadukhayo atmanam toshayan dehi tamasapara mruchati. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. So don't think that I'm translating also. No, it's all Sanskrit verses are by Maharishi Vedvyas, and all the translations are by Srila Prabhupada. One should try to keep himself satisfied in any condition of life. One should try to keep himself satisfied in any condition of life, whether distress or happiness, which is offered by the Supreme Will. A person who endures in this way is able to cross over the darkness of nescience very easily. One should try to keep himself satisfied in any condition of life, whether distress or happiness, which is offered by the Supreme Will. A person who endures this way is able to cross over the darkness of nescience very easily. No matter what happens, good or bad, it is only sanctioned by Krishna, and that's why we should not be complaining about it. Now, the next one is remember that your life is temporary. Mrityu janmavatam vira dehene sahajayate adyavapshatanteva mrityurve praninam dhruva mrityurjanmavatam vira dehene sahajayate adyavapshatanteva mrityurve praninam dhruva. It says, O great hero, one who takes birth is sure to die. For death is born with the body. One may die today or after 100 years, but death is sure for every living entity. Janma, jara, vyadhi, mrityu. This is a cycle. You take a janma, birth, right? And then you grow. And you may produce some byproducts, right? Then you go old, become victim of some kind of disease, and then you die. So janma, jara, vyadhi, mrityu is a cycle, and one should not actually complain about it or worry about it. It's just different statuses of the body. Now, it advises us to forgive. So he says, Iti Bhagavato Devya Pratishaptum Alamnata Murdana Sajagruhe Shapa Etavat Sadhu Lakshanam Iti Bhagavato Devya Pratishaptum alantama murdana sagruhe shapam etavat satulakshanam. The devotee Chitraketu was so powerful. In Bhagavatam it says, the great devotee Chitraketu was so powerful that he was quite competent to curse Mother Parvati in retaliation. When Mother Parvati cursed Chitraketu, he was able to give her the same kind of curse. But instead of doing so, he very humbly accepted the curse and bowed his head before Lord Shiva and his wife. This is very much to be appreciated as the standard behavior of Vaishnava. Srila Prabhupada says, this is very much to be appreciated as a standard behavior of Vaishnava. Just forgive. Prabhupada used to say, the devotee should not have a very good memory. Right? I curse you. Right? I scold you. I give you bad names, whatever. You go out and forget it. You don't remember, oh, he told me tomorrow I'm going to do this, but tomorrow after. You don't do all that. Just forget it. Forget and forgive. So here, Chitraketu proves by his own example that we should not be taking anything seriously. On the contrary, you should go one step forward. And if you have committed any offense towards somebody, unknowingly even, you should apologize. Sometimes people, after finishing the lecture, they say, well, if I said something, if I hurt somebody, please, I apologize, I'm sorry, right? They become very humble about it, their own presentation. And that's the nature of a devotee. So even when we do the deity service, the last part of deity, just like Pujari just closed the curtains, what he's going to do? We have to chant the mantras of forgiveness because we don't know. You think that everything was okay. But the person who is cooking in that deity kitchen forgot the salt. And now Krishna ate everything without salt, right? You don't know, you don't know, he doesn't know, nobody knows about it. But that was your offense, that you forget something. They make a plate and forget the water. They forgot to warm the milk, right? How about sweets? There were no sweets. So Krishna was without sweets, right? Is it okay? Not okay. So Pujari, at the end of his worship, whatever he's doing, other offering or arti or anything, he is offering the mantras of forgiveness. The please Krishna, please forgive. We didn't mean, but by any chance, knowingly or unknowingly, we have committed any offense towards you, please forgive us. So he says, Na mantram no yantram tadapi cha na jane stuti maho na chavan dhyanam tadapi cha na jane stuti katha na jane mudraste tadapi cha na jane vilapanam param jane matar tadanu sharanam klesharanam Videragyānena dravina vinayena lasataya videya shakyatva tava charanayo yachutirvut tadetakṣantavyam janani sakalodhanini shive kuputro jayetat kvachita kupamata nabhavati. With the tears in the eyes and with the folded hands, we have to ask Srimati Radharani to forgive. She is the cook for Krishna. And what a mistake we made. A pinch of salt was forgotten. Was it a big deal? Big offense? But no. We should consider ourselves as a culprit, offender. And next time it never happened, we have to promise him. This is the spirit of a pujari, spirit of a devotee. Avahanam na janami tavarchanam. Pujam chaiva na janami kshamasva parameshwara. Anyatha sharano nasti. Tvameva sharanam mama. Tasmat karunya bhavena. Raksha raksha maheshwara. Gatam papam, gatam dukkham, gatam daritram evacha. Agata sukha sampatti punyo tvarashanat. Mantrahinam, kriyahinam, bhaktihinam, sureshwara, yatpujitam mayadeva paripurna tadastame. Yadaksharam padabrashtam matrahinam chat bhaved takshamata deva prasida parameshwara. Kshamata deva, please forgive, right? We speak something, right? Sanskrit is a very dangerous language. You can't speak whatever you want to speak. If there is a change in meaning, you will have to suffer, right? The Kumbhakarna wanted the Indrasan, but in pronouncing that particular sentence, there was a sandhi, and it sounded like Nindrasan. Indra is like he wants the highest position, Indrasan. But Nindrasan is Nindra is sleeping. So Lord Brahma said, okay, 6 months you will sleep. Is it okay? What is it? You say, just say, ask for Nindrasan and I give you. Tathastu, go and sleep. And he had to sleep for 6 months. Just a little bit of sleep of tongue. And I even don't know, you have to check with Ramayana. Sometimes what is known as the sandhi, the two words joined together, it has a different pronunciation. So maybe it was not his mistake. But if it sounded like Nindra instead of Indra, he had to suffer. So that is why manasa vacha karmana. When you speak something or pray, even kshamayachana, and say some word that didn't mean much or it's not pleasing to Krishna, you may have to pay for that. That's why it's very important that any kind of act you do, any kind of speech you speak, or any kind of thoughts that you may have in your mind, then be prepared to ask for apology. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is taking Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, who was a small child, and he says, let's go. So he went with father. And then on the way, it was a dark night, and they didn't have time to reach to the destination wherever they wanted to go. They wanted to go to Jagannath Puri temple, but they couldn't make it. So on the way, the villagers say, this is the temple here, nobody sleeps here. If you don't mind, you can occupy that for a night. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, he spent a night there. Now, naturally when you travel, you don't have time to chant, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur thought that maybe this is the right time. I have the whole night to spend, and there is no any facility, no bed and nothing, right? So he said, let me chant. So he started chanting. And suddenly there was so much noise, and everywhere there was knocking and breaking of glass, and things started flying, right? That was a ghost. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur figured out right away that there is a ghost here. So he kept chanting and realized something, and for the benefit of the ghost, he started chanting all the way up to the morning. And the villagers came and I said, Maharaj, how was that? So he said, terrible. I said, what? He says, the reason nobody lives here because there is a ghost in this place. So he says, who is a ghost? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, these people are like Trikalagnani. They can see into past, they can see the future, they can still realize they be in the present at the same time. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the pujari here has become a ghost. He says, every time he is serving Krishna, he was asking for so much material things. Krishna, give me this, give me this, give me this, right? So So in order to get that, because he didn't have any pious activities anyway, except just mechanically go around and around Krishna's face. So Krishna says, you become a ghost and enjoy whatever you think of. So ghost was able to pick up the stones and grow something and eat something and anything he will do all night. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur delivered him. From the next day, he says, everything stopped. And that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes that when you go on the altar as a pujari, don't ask for anything from Krishna. Right? The people standing here, they may be holding their hand and I say, Krishna will give them. Definitely, they fulfill the desires. But when you are a pujari, when you are so close to Krishna and trying to get material benefits, that's the worst thing can happen. So, this is what it is. Now, I don't know even the time, but here it says, I wrote, do not waste time. What is about time? So this is a very famous, I think the first verse on the beginning of the Bhagavatam is already appears. Shri Prahlad Uvacha. Kaumar Acharet Pragno Dharman Bhagavatani Durlabham Manushan Janma Tadapya Dhruvamarthanam Kaumar Acharet Pragno Dharman Bhagavatani Durlabham Manusham Janma Tadapya Dhruvarthanam. Prahlad Maharaj said, one who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender age of childhood to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. Giving up all other engagements. The human body is most rarely achieved, and although temporary, like other bodies, it is meaningful because in human life one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete satisfaction and perfection. That's why Prahlad Maharaj says, do not waste time. From the beginning, you start worshipping Lord Shri Krishna. Now, again, we are coming back to different, which is Bhayam pramattasya vaneshvapi syad yatas aste sashat sapatnam jitendriyasyam rate burdasya gruhashramakyam nakaroti avadyam. So, Lord Brahma is talking to Priyavrata. So, Priyavrata is advised by Lord Brahma. In this verse he says, even if he goes from forest to forest, one who is not self-controlled must always fear material bondage because he is living with 6 co-wives, the mind and then eyes, tongue, nose, skin, ears, right? These are the 6 wives, 5 senses and a mind. So person is, we have to live with these 6 wives and please them, right? All the knowledge acquiring senses. Even householder life, however, cannot harm a self-satisfied, learned man who has conquered his senses. So you have to conquer your mind and you have to conquer your senses. Otherwise, what happens? That the senses are too strong. Now, Maharishi Vedvyas, he actually, there was only one Veda before, but then he compiled into 4 Vedas, Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda, right? So there were a lot of schools, and the head of the schools were great sages and intellectual people. And Maharishi Vedvyas called them and said, you teach them to your students. So that way he actually entrusted about 5 sages, different sages. He gave Rigveda to Pail Muni. There was a rishi named Pail, and he took charge of Rigveda. There was a rishi named Jaimini, he took charge of Samaveda. Then he called Vaishampayan and gave him Yajurveda. And he called Angira Muni and gave him Atharva Veda. And the Romaharshan, who is the father of Sutta Purani, was in charge of all the Puranas that we are learning. So, so far as this particular, what you call pastimes or the verse is concerned, there is a story that this sage named Jaimini was given charge of Samaveda. Vedvyas Maharishi, in his presence, asked him, so what do you think about Samaveda? He's flipping some pages, and Maharishi Vedvyas has written something which he didn't like. He says that Indrani Karshati Gnani Janaha. So Gnani Janaha, when was included, Jaimini Muni felt little uncomfortable about it because he himself was Gnani. And he considered Vedvyas Muni as a Gnani. He considered Pail Muni as a Gnani, Vaishampayan as a Gnani, Angira and Romaharshan, all these school teachers or masters, they were all Gnani. And when Maharishi Vedvyas said that the senses are stronger than the Gnani, he didn't like that, he didn't appreciate it. So what are the senses? They are nothing. What do? Right? The nose is smelling and tongue is tasting, eyes is looking and skin is just touching, right? And ears is listening. But a Gnani, all these things, senses, they have come from mode of ignorance. What do they know? What can they do? Gnani is above all. Senses cannot harass us. So Maharishi Vedvyas thought that, oh my God, how am I going to convince him? So he says, then what we are going to do? He said, I'm going to modify it. No, don't touch my Vedas. Don't modify anything without my permission. He says, okay. So he left. Jaimini lives, and as story goes, suddenly there was a thunderstorm, and the water started coming down like cats and dogs. He got wet. He ran up to his ashram, and outside his gate, there was a girl, a young girl was standing, shivering. She got wet, And Jaimini says, Mataji, if you don't mind, this is my ashram. I will give you the umbrella. If you want, I will also drop you to your parents, but you will get sick. Please try to be comfortable. Come inside. So the girl went inside. And then he also became a little comfortable inside, light up some fire and this and that. And then, after doing that, what happened, that he threw some blankets and everything, saffron towel and saffron chadar and this and that. He didn't have any clothes for woman, but whatever he had, he tried to throw at the girl, and girl used those towels and everything and wiped out the body, and then took that saffron cloth and wrapped herself around, and she came out of the other room. And when Jaimini saw this girl, that's the end of it. He thought this is some Apsara, some Gandharva girl, some celestial personality, sannyasini coming from heavens. He was so much impressed with the look of that girl. She looked so beautiful in saffron clothes. And she was young, fair skin, right? And Jaimini right away proposed, will you marry me? So girl says, well, my parents says, it's time to marry, so it's okay, I'll marry. But also they said that you taste the person. Jaimini said, I'm ready for the test. What do you want to ask? Rigved, Yajurved, Atharvaved, Samved, Samhitas, Upanishad, what do you want? I'll pass the test, he says. I'm a Jaimini, probably you don't know me. I know everything, I'm Gnani. So he says, not that kind of test, he says. He says, you make sure that he loves you. He says, which way I can prove that I love you? She says, you have to color your face with ash from the fire sacrifice. Mix it with ghee and make like a monkey face. Well, that's simple. We do the fire sacrifice every day. It's right here. He put his hand in the coal, pull out the ash, mix with the ghee, and boom. What do you think? He said, that's not enough. So what? He said, you have to bend down on 2 hands and 2 legs, become like a horse, and you have to allow me to ride on your back and take me around your ashram. Then I'll know that you love me. No problem. I'm a heavy duty guy. He says, you are a very delicate girl. I'm not going to feel your weight. And don't worry, just jump on me. And suddenly there was a knock. And he says, who is this? This is Maharishi Vedvyas. Maharishi Vedvyas, what are you doing here in the middle of the night? He says, I'm in the middle of something, Can we talk tomorrow? He says, no, I'm very much worried about that senses and modification of my Vedas and all that. He says, no, don't worry about it. I'm going through that. I'm realizing that Maya is very, very strong. The senses are very, very strong. The Jnanis are nothing compared to the, he confessed right away. And he says, Prabhuji, give me few more hours tomorrow, first thing in the morning. I have some news to give you. So Maharishi left. Next day he announced that he is getting married. And he said, did you change anything? He said, no way. So this is the kind of experience happened to even a sage like Jaimini. And then it proved that the senses are so powerful that even Jnanis will be defeated in front of them. So, even if he goes from forest to forest, one who is not self-controlled must always fear material bondage because he is living with 6 co-wives, the mind and the nose, tongue, eyes, skin and ears. Acquiring senses. Even householder life, however, cannot harm a self-satisfied, learned man who has conquered his senses. So that is a very important injunction that we should be That's why in the beginning, before we take breakfast or any prasadam, we chant Sharira Vidyajal. This body is a network of ignorance. And out of that, the tongue is most voracious, right? Never satisfied. One laddu, no, give you another one. Second laddu, you give me another one. You're never satisfied. So the thing is that, we all have to control the senses and especially mind. So this way there are so much, in the Srimad Bhagavatam given. Now, one thing I would like to share with you is a bedtime story that my mother used to tell me. The story goes like that there were like 10, 15 row housing or what you call cottages, and it was a very small village, handful of people. And there was this boy who didn't sleep, or who slept the whole day. That's why he could not sleep at night time. So he thought maybe I should play some mischief this night. I cannot sleep and I don't like everybody sleeping. I get jealous. So I must wake them up. So he started, help, help. So everybody got up and rushed to his cot. They have the cottage and outside they spread their bed. And he said, what happened? The boy says, well, I believe, I don't know, but I must have a bad dream. So he says, yeah, it happens. When you have a bad dream, you ask for help, especially you're a child. Okay, go and. So he slept. After a few days again, he wanted to play the mischief. Help, help. So everybody came. And said, what happened? He said, I don't know. I was feeling there was somebody here. I thought there were thieves. No, nobody's here. They said, go to. Then second day also happened. And similarly, he kept doing third day also. And then finally, when he was doing this out of mischief, suddenly a tiger came. And tiger was looking what to do with this boy. Should I eat him right here or take him away? That kind of situation, and boy figured out right away, oh my God, he's a tiger. So he said, help, help. And everybody was sleeping. They say, this boy is crazy. He's always disturbing. He actually doesn't need any help. He will go sleep. And that night he was finished. The reason I'm telling you that what we had to learn from this story is my mom said, never do this. But it just happened. And I did it. And I feel sorry for that. What I did it for Govinda, so it's okay. But we had a Balaram's appearance day. So I screamed to our congregation, help, help, right? And everybody started pouring money. And then after a week I say, Krishna Janmashtami, help, help. So everybody came and helped. And after a week I say, it's Radhashtami, help, help. So everybody poured money again. And now when I say I'm doing this katha, help, help, nobody comes forward. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. The guy is, too much, right? Always in need of help. But what happened? That we were actually following the injunctions of Srimad Bhagavatam. Right after Radhashtami, I was reading, and here the verse is that if there is a sun in Leo, the constellation Leo, or the sign Leo, then one should be doing this Saptah, Bhagavat Saptah. You should be reading Bhagavat Saptah. Only that particular period, out of all, like in our temple, it's okay. Prabhupada says you should read every day, and we read it. But if you exclusively present like a Saptah, 7 days, then it says yes. Prastapanya Pranamasya Hema Syasan Samanvitam Dadatiyo Bhagavatam Sa Yatim Paramam Gatim. This is a canto 12, chapter number 13 and verse number also 13. And it says that in the month of Bhadra, one places Srimad Bhagavatam on a golden throne and gives it as a gift. He will attain the supreme transcendental destination. And this is the time. One should place Srimad Bhagavatam on a golden throne because it is the king of literature. On the full moon day of month of Bhadra, the sun, which is compared to the king of literature, is present in the constellation Leo and looks as if raised upon the royal throne. According to astrology, the sun is said to be exalted in sign of Leo. Thus one may unreservedly worship Srimad Bhagavatam, the supreme divine scripture. This is the injunction in Bhagavatam. It's a calendar. It's a patrika or astrology, whatever you call it. But right after Radhastami, within a week, this period came. I didn't want to wait for the next year. That's why I scheduled and say, help, help. Now people think that this is too much. And that's why we exhibited these particular books. For that books are concerned. Danam danasya mahatmya pathadeshya nibodhata. Right? Maharishi Vedyas, now he says, now please hear the summation of the verse length and each of the Puranas. You know, he says, hear of the prime subject. If you want to know what is the prime subject of the Bhagavatam, hear from me. If you want to know the purpose of this Bhagavata Purana, know from me, I am going to tell you. Right? If you want to know the proper method of giving it as a gift, know from me. If you know the glories of such gift giving, know from me. And finally, the glories of hearing and chanting this literature. So in the purport it says, Srimad Bhagavatam is the best of Puranas. And Srila Chakravarti, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the purpose of this Bhagavad Purana is to give as a gift to somebody. First you have it, you read it, you glorify the Lord, and then you pass on to somebody else as a gift. Let him read it and let him glorify, and then he will pass on to others. So that's why we exhibited it. If somebody doesn't have the Bhagavatam, one should give. Text number 3, canto 12, chapter 13, it says, Purana Sankhya Sambhuti Masya Vachya Prayojana Danam Danasya Mahatmya Pathadeshya Nibodhata. Right? Now I am going to instruct you, right? Or trying to, explain you the importance of giving charity and the right kind of charity at this moment when the sun is in a Leo. That's the time one should be giving Bhagavatam away as a gift to somebody. So that is the reason that we came up with this particular idea about arranging or orientation of this particular katha. But I told you whatever I was supposed to tell you, that it's not just our whim that we are scheduling at this moment, but right now up to the end of the month, the sun is going to be in Leo, and that is the proper time to read Bhagavatam. That's why we are reading, and it's a proper time to give it away as a gift. So with folded hand, I am asking all of you, consider this. If you cannot buy the Bhagavatam, that's okay. You can at least sponsor the reading, or in any way if you can help us, that will we'll appreciate. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Shri Radha Govindev ki
Jai.
jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So see you tomorrow at 12:30. We begin with the Aarti, and right after Aarti there will be a Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna.